Have you ever been giving advice and only after you say it out loud, you realize you really need to hear it too? Now, for me, it does happen regularly, but I want to share a specific example related to this podcast in recent history where I really needed to hear it myself. 2 episodes ago, I talked about this idea of trying on someone else's mindset, like you are putting on another person's glasses and seeing the world the way they do, a world where they don't hesitate. They're not afraid of taking action in the way that you might be right now. Now, in case you did not know, I actually record these episodes live on YouTube. And that means that anyone who wants can come and watch the recording, and I always stay around after to chat. Well, during the chat, I shared how I was going to skip an in person holiday event at my local co working space. I feel really uncomfortable going to events where I don't know anyone else attending, so I tend to skip them. And I was sharing how that was my intention to skip it. And as the words came out of my mouth, I realized, okay, I need to take my own advice. It's the chance to try on someone else's mindset, show up to the event as a person who doesn't hesitate to go to an event, even if they don't know anyone else that is going to be there. So I made a verbal commitment during that live stream that I would go to the event the next day. And sure enough, signed up and said, yes, I'm going to go. But since that stream, I have been thinking a lot about comfort zones and specifically about how it's possible to confuse your mode, how you work, with your comfort zone. Now, in the momentum formula, when I talk about finding your mode, this is about paying attention to how you're wired, to how you work, and to what feels natural to you so that you can keep repeating so that it's sustainable and you can keep it up and keep your momentum. Even last week's episode about choosing which path to take considered your mode, looking internally and asking which path is a good fit that you could see yourself sustaining. It's the type of path you want to keep taking. It's why I record all of these episodes live. It suits my brain and how I'm wired to know that if I said I'm going to show up live, I'm going to show up live. Now, for others, that could be the complete opposite. That might actually terrify them and that would not work for them. And that's okay. That's all about how we are different and you need to figure out what works for you. But mode is not about staying in your comfort zone. It's about paying attention to what fits, and there is room for you to try things outside your comfort zone and see if those might fit. For example, I have a friend of mine who established herself as a writer. Her website, her newsletter had incredible reach, and she was really good at what she did, and she enjoyed the process of putting together her work. Last year, she decided to try a video podcast with a friend of hers. It was not in her comfort zone. She would talk about how uncomfortable it made her to record video compared to writing. But she realized it did suit her mode because the schedule to show up and record with a friend helped her to show up consistently every single week. And over time, she got more comfortable with the video aspect and recently told me that if she imagined the podcast ending, she realized she would really miss it and she's having fun doing this with a friend of hers and talking about things that she loves discussing. Mode is about finding a fit that works with how you work, but it's also about experimenting with ways of working until you learn firsthand how it feels. So even if it's uncomfortable or makes you a little bit nervous, you may still be able to sustain it. And with time and experience, those nerves will start to ease, confidence can start to rise. And you'll find out over time if it's something that you can sustain or not. Maybe over time, you realize this actually never goes down and I don't want to keep doing this. And that's okay too. But you gave it the chance and you stepped outside your comfort zone. Even I still get a little bit nervous before a live talk, presentation, a workshop, and yes, even recording this podcast live. And ultimately, it's because I care about it being good. And when I care about things, I feel a little bit nervous. Now, speaking of nerves, you might be wondering, okay, well, did I go to the holiday party? I RSVP'd yes, but what happened next? Friends, I did go and I was nervous, but you better believe because I made a public commitment that I was not going to back down. So I went anyway. I am pleased to report that it did go well. Not only did the event organizers create the perfect scenario for people to interact with others because they used a passport system with really good prizes as an incentive, but also early on, I met another attendee who didn't know anyone else. I was hanging up my coat and ran into somebody who's actually an external person who was invited. And we started going around and collecting stamps together, and we both met a ton of new people. And everyone I talked to was so kind, so welcoming, and open to having conversations. It completely blew past my expectations. Now, I know that not every event is like that, and this is a really well run event. And yes, that made a difference. But a few people, when they told me about upcoming events and encouraged me to go to more of the events that are happening, I found myself wanting to go. I was not going to go to this event. Truly, I was not going to go to this event. And if I hadn't said something about it during the stream, I would have missed it completely. And that's all because I wanted to stay comfortable. So I do owe a very big thank you to the Wednesday live stream regulars who watched me in real time recognize that I needed to take my own advice to challenge myself, try on someone else's mindset. And they also cheered me on to go to the event. So thank you. Now, I am actually taking the next 2 weeks off for the holiday season. So no podcast episodes for a couple of weeks, but I'll be back to my regular schedule in January. And if you have never attended one of the live recordings on Wednesday at noon Eastern, I encourage you to join during the new year. And if between now and then you get invited to an event that you think could be fun, but you feel nervous about going, I encourage you to step outside your comfort zone because you never know what might be on the other side.